Welcome back to BRMC's Healthy Connections. We've been talking today with our very special guest, Kelly Dix, Mandy Pender from they are trauma coordinators at the hospital, and we've been talking about suicide prevention. And we've been talking about, Kelly, you've got one more game.
One final question for you. Can you think of any words that the mnemonic ACT might mean, ACT, in suicide prevention?
Action, something, training? I don't
Close.
know.
Close, parts of it.
Well, you have to remember that we can act to prevent suicide. So we're going to ask the question. You're going to ask, are you thinking about hurting yourself or killing yourself? You're going to care about your friends or your family members. And then you're also going to take action. You're going to get them help. You're going to either get them to a counselor or your pastor. There's services here in Mountain Home, but then there's also pastors or whoever you want to go to, but at least get them some help.
Excellent. ACT. I love it. I love I love when we do all these little acronyms.
Absolutely, it's important, and you know, it sounds silly sometimes, but it's a way for people to get it out there and remember it easily. You know what they're supposed to do, and so that's why we thought it would be a good thing to bring today.
That's a great one to bring today. And I love the way you phrased all of this today, that it's all of our responsibilities. Don't walk past that child or that adult that you can tell something is different, something's troubling them, and that's the main key, I'm sure, Mandy, is, are you thinking about taking your own life? Don't be afraid to ask the hard question.
And there's warning signs. There's warning signs. You know, different behavior, isolating themselves or acting out, impulsiveness. Of course, previous suicide attempts or any kind of mental illness will be a warning to you also. If there's any physical violence or emotional violence in the home or bullying, things like that. Substance abuse or a history of substance abuse also puts them more at risk. Depression.
Talking about death is another big one. The little girl that we read in the news, the little girl in Florida had recently changed her Facebook name to the dead girl. And so even though she hadn't committed yet, she had already been thinking of herself that she was dead inside, and so that's what they, you know.
Oh, how sad.
And
so tragic, and so, you know, not to pick on anyone, but in many cases it's certainly treatable and possibly avoidable.
Yes, and I want people to realize that the fourth leading cause of death in Arkansas is 10 to 14-year-olds. 10 to 14-year-olds.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's very common. I mean, it's not like it's the bottom cause of death. So it's something that we really have to be aware of. And of course, the young males too, but for this category, that's a very high risk factor.
That's just stuns me. Just absolutely stuns me.
Yeah, the statistics as a parent of a 10-year-old are scary, and you know, they go to school and you know that you are sending them there and you can't be there with them, and so it's just very good to be aware of what's going on.
And what are some of the things, I mean, are the schools locally, I know you interact with the schools, are they all getting on board with programs?
Bullying is huge.
Bullying is huge. There's a lot of rules and things.
Zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance for bullying. And they monitor that. Of course, we have to help police that as parents and go to them because, you know, with the many ways of social media, the school, a lot of the bullying does not happen right at the school grounds. It's going on at the school, it's going on at home also. But you can always contact your school for help, but they have zero tolerance. And of course, they report to juvenile authorities immediately and get them involved. And if there's something like that going on, the juvenile authorities takes control of that case. And from that point, whether it needs to be pursued or investigated, whatever. And then of course, you know, the child in question will either get detention, or different schools have different policies, but either detention or expelled, things like that.
Something like that. And
then several of other local schools have counselors inside of the school system. Mountain Home School has a group that comes in and helps the kids with counseling. Cotter has some freelance ones that do, I know. I'm not sure about like Norfolk and the other ones, but I think most of them have some counselors that are available that come to talk to the children about if they have any issues.
Right.
So
And I know our Center for Individual and Family Development in Gassville certainly has counseling for everyone. They've got
Yes.
it for the children and for the parents, because, you know, I'm sitting here thinking, you know, once upon a time it was, I'm thinking of 3 generations now, like here's grandparents, parents, and the child. And, you know, here's the grandparents that are thinking usually the statement that was always made to kids when they got into differences. Kids, leave the kids alone, let them work it out.
mm-hmm.
But now it's another whole type of item that's going on for these poor kids, that it may not be like with the bullying, for instance.
Well, it's usually not just one kid where you're going to go out and fight them on the schoolyard and
Yes.
be done with it. It's,
Yeah.
you know, it's a
It's
whole
a
group
group.
of kids getting
Yeah.
involved.
Like-
And
Yeah.
it probably was a little bit previously, but not as much as it is now.
No, usually it was between 2
Yes.
kids, and it was sort of like, hey kid, I want your lunch money.
Right.
And that was it, you know, you either fought them or you gave them your lunch money.
And it was over.
And it was over.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, the other thing to realize is that, you know, we didn't keep a lot of statistics then,
Well,
too.
that's true.
So,
Kelly.
you know, there has always been this issue, but that we didn't have the statistics on
Yeah.
what it was. And so it may have been just as bad then, and we just don't realize it because we didn't have any way of tracking it, and nationally and even locally. And so
True.
as times have changed and we're better at tracking and keeping awareness of it, it's the only way to prevent. But that's the only way to prevent, is to be aware and get in there and make the changes. And again, we'll have the numbers posted throughout the show, but if you or anyone you know is struggling with depression or having suicidal thoughts, please get help. We have help available for you. You can call the National Suicide Hotline. We have the Center for Individual and Family Development's phone numbers available for you, and we're here to help you at Baxter Regional. So.
And there are I'm going to throw out there too, for those of our viewing audience that are older, the Muruck Family Center Education on Aging has all sorts of resources as well. They've got booklets about counseling in the area, and can do counseling for maybe the older seniors, maybe
Yes.
more comfortable setting for them. So.
Exactly.
Absolutely, because we, being a widow or of older, especially a widower, those are 2 things that make them a high risk factor too. You know, especially if they've been married for a very long time, it's hard to get over the fact that you've lost your mate.
Yes.
And a lot of that generation was married for a very long period of time, and so then they don't really know how to cope with their
can't
life
cope.
anymore.
They just they see life as over. So
And they often have a few less friends because they're not as mobile and a little bit more isolated, especially if they've been caring for their loved one for any length of time, if there was any illness beforehand. Such
they've isolated themselves and don't have the support group at all. And the older
limited income.
people
also.
are living too. Their friends have passed away, so they just don't have the support group they once had. And as we mentioned
don't.
before, men don't reach out.
No.
Suck it up, be tough.
Yeah, exactly.
So. What else have you got for us today?
Well,
I know that recently, that on a little lighter note, which would be kind of nice, because suicide
Yeah.
is such a serious, heavy topic that needs to be certainly addressed. But we recently had the county fair parade going on, and the
Yes.
trauma coordinators were there in the parade. Tell us about that.
We were there. Our trauma monkey came out with us. The hospital allowed us to drive one of the golf carts. And
The
so
8-foot-high trauma monkey.
the trauma monkey
This is
came.
not a little monkey.
Hey, God love the trauma monkey. The trauma monkey walked the whole parade route
In
for
the 100-degree heat.
100-degree heat.
In-
But got to see all the kids, and I think all the kids really enjoyed seeing the trauma monky.
We were driving the cart. We felt a little bad because we were driving away, and the trauma monkey is back there taking pictures with people, and he had to walk the whole way. But you have to keep up the parade.
Yeah, we didn't want to stop the parade just for that.
It's important for everyone to meet the
Yes.
trauma monkey. Are you doing something with the schools with the trauma monkey later in the year?
We absolutely are. We are working on getting some education out there, some injury prevention. We just haven't quite done it yet.
Haven't
We're
got
going to
to
absolutely.
those schools yet.
Oh, I know you're always doing things though with education about the safety of when you're on your bicycle, wearing a
Yes.
helmet, and just all sorts of things to
Crosswalks,
keep
yes.
kids safe.
Well, being a level 3 trauma center is new to this area, but and also is the trauma system in Arkansas. We did not have a trauma system like the other states, and so we were behind in trauma and prevention. So we're really trying to build our system up and things like that.
Well, you're doing an excellent job in getting all the information. I know so far you've done car seats.
Yes.
Who knew there were so many different styles of car seats?
I know.
And people went for special training to know how to put them, the right one in the right way into a car. You've just been so busy with that whole trauma.
We have, and you know, motor vehicle accidents are about 30% of our traumas that we get into the hospital at Baxter, specifically at Baxter, and statewide I don't have that statistic yet, but at Baxter about 30% are motor vehicle accidents, so it's really important to make sure those children are restrained and restrained properly to prevent injury.
My youngest daughter's after me too to start getting and putting in a leash type
Oh yeah, restraint for the dog.
restraint for the dog.
Yes.
'Cause she said that would be 80 pounds headed your way if
It
you
would.
don't.
Yes,
like
anything
right.
in your
Oh.
vehicle.
And they get injured in the wreck too. so
Sure, and
that's the other-
wouldn't want that, so,
They do.
yeah.
Yes.
So we've got all sorts of things that we're doing for prevention and making sure to, now we've got Halloween coming up. Anything we can talk about?
Halloween, absolutely. You know,
Yeah.
the same old, it's kind of, I feel bad saying it, but it's the same old thing as usual. Make sure that your costumes are flame retardant. Make sure that they can see well with their masks. Make sure you stay in neighborhood. You know, we don't really have a big problem here locally, thank goodness. But make sure you know where your children are going to trick or treat.
Right.
Make sure that you don't have anything that are a fall risk
Yeah,
because
Length of their costume. If
Sure,
it's too long,
because it'll be dark.
hem
No
it
matter
up,
what time you
they'll
go out,
trip.
it's going to be dark.
watch for the kids if you're driving home around the Halloween time. Be careful because they'll be out and they dart. You know,
Yeah.
I mean the parents are trying to keep an eye on them, but they're
Yep.
you know darting
I
and
chased
running.
my granddaughter one time going, I can't believe I can't keep up with her.
No.
Exactly, and they're full of candy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly.
And incentive.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's just really important to be thinking about those things.
Yeah, and they usually carry a flashlight and
Carry a flashlight or those little glow sticks.
Stick,
and-
yeah.
Reflectors,
something,
anything.
anything that reflects and lets people know that they're there. Do we
And-
still X-ray candy?
We do not.
Oh,
It's the-
okay.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure we would if somebody needed us to, but that's not something that we don't
we've
really
never-
have.
No, we don't have any of those challenges here, thank goodness.
No, thank goodness.
Yeah,
Thank goodness.
but make sure it's wrapped candy, make
Yes,
sure
Yes.
it's,
wrapped
yeah.
candy.
You know, have the candy tester out there first, and that's kind of what we do. Go through the candy, and who gets the good candy
Yeah.
first? Just kidding.
And my kids never saw any Mounds bars.
Yeah, exactly.
No, honey, you didn't have those in your bag, I'm sorry.
Right.
Oh, dear. Well, it's a delight to have you both here. Will you come back and see us again
Oh, of
in a couple
course.
months and
Absolutely,
talk to
of
us again
course.
about how we can help the communities that we serve so well, just even more
Yes.
on prevention.
Well, we'll bring the monkey next time, but once again, he has a best friend that's a paramedic, and sometimes he has to stay with him. So.
Ah, so he's staying with his paramedic
Yes.
friend today. Okay,
Yes.
they're probably out rescuing people.
That's right.
Out of trees? No.
Right, exactly.
Come back and see us again, all right?
Thank you.
Our special guests today have been Kelly Dix and Mandy Pender, and we've been talking to you about September as Suicide Prevention Month. I hope that you've listened hard today and gotten some great tips on how to help those in need. And we'll have the numbers up on the screen at the end of this program. Thank you so much for joining us for BRMC's Healthy Connections.